Welcome to the Good Times Are Spooking Us podcast. It's your big boy certified K-Town. I'm here with David, and Marky Mark William Johnson III.
Boo, 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 boo. Hey, what's up, guys? This is the second or first, we don't really know right now, episode of the Good Times Are Spooking Us podcast Halloween special.
This shit is scary, y'all. We got a vibe in here right now. It's dark.
If y'all could see this, it's all we have right now are candles, literally candles, a dark room with like a little bit of weird light, plus the computers are on. Besides that, we are here and ready to spook y'all. Do we have any shout-outs for the month before we get going?
Our laptops are drinking the candlelight right now.
All right, Mark, you always yelling at us about this.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah. Do the things. Yo, check us out on Facebook because we're doing live videos now. Just deleted one 10 minutes ago. Follow us on Instagram. Check us out on Facebook as the Good Times Are Killing Us podcast. You know, follow us. Follow us on Instagram at Good Times Killing Us podcast. And peep out the YouTube, which is the Good Times Are Killing Us podcast. We post all the episodes up there and probably going to post some spooky shit soon.
Subscribe to us on whatever your podcast app is, guys, please. If you like what we're doing here, or if you like hearing stories about Satanism and furries and fucking John McAfee and Kanye West and all these crazy motherfuckers, and please give us a subscribe. We put out new podcast episodes every 2 weeks, although this month and a lot of time we will occasionally put out some bonus episodes to give you something on the between weeks.
If you don't follow us on any of those platforms, I will drive my car into a tree.
All right, you heard it here first, folks.
That might be like the opposite. People might be like, you won't, and like
I will.
But we totally forgot to introduce our boy Maddie. Stash Daddy Ice is here again.
What's
Shout
up?
out to don't you do that? Don't you do that to my boy? Don't you?
I'm sorry. Boo!
Why you gotta do your boy like that?
Because you ain't shit, Manny.
Alrighty, y'all. So today we are talking about Satanism, and specifically organized Satanism, because while devil worship has been going on in many forms throughout the world, like long before we had this Judeo-Christian Islamic version of Satan, we've only really had two recognized organized forms of Satanism.
Yeah, it's not like what you think. I mean, like real Satanism.
We ain't talking about that medieval shit you see in the movies. We talking about that real life bullshit.
Yeah, we're not talking about fucking human sacrifices or cannibalism, or that's not what real.
No, we're
Satanism
talking about
is.
nerds that are in robes masturbating with dust, or just like some neoliberals pouring milk on themselves dressed as babies.
That's exactly what we're talking about. We are talking distinctly about the Church of Satan, founded by Anton LaVey, and the Satanic Temple, more recently founded by Lucian Graves. So whenever you hear stories about like Satanism and stuff like that, when you hear about Satanism in the news because of tax exemption or whatever kind of thing that's going on, usually that's not the original Church of Satan. That is this new kind of like liberal, like activist group.
It's like a troll.
Both of them are really trolls when it boils down to it.
They're both really trolls, but one's like a woke, like cool guy.
Yo, real quick, shouts out to Satan. Anybody else?
No, yeah. Shouts out to
shouts out to my
Satan.
boy, the devil.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, this is a pretty enlightening episode. It's interesting to find out about these two religions, and even more so to understand that they're actually separate. Because I'd heard things about the Church of Satan, and I was like, that sounds kind of silly. And then I heard about the Satanic Temple, and I was like, I get it. I mean, I think neither one, I'm not about to join either one. But they're both pretty interesting.
Yeah, right.
They're like you were saying, neither one is like what you think. They're actually, when we get into this, you might learn a little bit about.
I don't know, y'all. They had me on board when they said masturbating with dust.
That was just some shit that I said on accident. I don't even know, because we were talking about what kind of magic rituals maybe the Church of Satan people were doing, and I could have sworn I heard something about like some masturbation sigil, and K-Town was like, "Well, what'd they masturbate with?" And I was like, "I don't know, dust or some shit."
That shit sounds stupid.
So again.
What were you gonna say, Maddie? What were you gonna say?
I mean, so are like they feuding against each other? Or
No, they babies.
are they
Well,
are they in bed with each other?
They've had words against each other, but they're not really like they're not fighting. They're not like constantly vying at each other. It's basically just two different groups. I would say the other one is not doing it correctly.
Well, so the Church of Satan is, I mean, they're not very active at this moment. I'm sure we're going to get into all of that, but they are taking little jots and stabs trying to discredit the Satanic Temple in ways and stuff.
Payne had a good analogy for it earlier. It's like Christianity and Judaism.
It's like the Old Testament and the New Testament, really.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Where, like, I mean, the Satanic Temple is a very different thing from the Church of Satan, but there's no way that we would have the Satanic Temple if it wasn't for the existence of the Church of Satan. It's like an evolved version of it.
Exactly. They're taking it the rest of the way and turning it into like a real activist type of troll. Where I feel like the Church of Satan was more like, this is a troll for like the 60s.
I mean, could you
you
kind of compare that to like Christianity and like Mormonism?
Oh, there's so many ways to compare
dude,
Christianity.
look,
That's all we'll be doing. That's the whole point.
This is my view. The old, like, the Church of Satan is like an old-timey gospel group. And then, like, the Satanic Temple is like Under Oath.
Yeah. No, yeah.
The cool metal dudes.
They're like, no, but for real, guys, like...
Let's talk about
Satan is cool. And we'll get there. I mean, the thing is that they're both essentially based on around like agnosticism and atheism. Neither of them actually believe or worship Satan.
Shouts to Under Oath, by the way, though.
The writing's on the wall.
So again, neither of them, they don't do sacrifices. They don't worship Satan. They don't do anything like that. And they're both like really different. But what I will say, I think to really understand the root of what they're really about and the fact that they don't actually worship like Satan himself, you really have to understand the original meaning of the Hebrew word Satan. And really it all boils down, like this word is what it all boils down to, their whole ideology. Satan means the adversary. Both of these groups are based around like being adversarial to traditional organized Christianity. That's really all there is to it. I mean, the Church of Satan is more like philosophical, whereas the Satanic Temple is going to be more political. All right, so let's kick it off by talking about the Church of Satan. So the Church of Satan was founded by Howard Stanton LaVey, a.k.a. Anton LaVey, who was born on April of 1930. LaVey claimed to have dropped out of high school when he was just a kid to join the circus, but there's no real evidence of this or most of the shit that he says about his youth.
Dude, he's claimed to have worked for the circus. He's claimed to be had worked for the police force for a time. He claimed to apparently had been in some kind of secret love affair with Marilyn Monroe, who he met in like a burlesque show that he used to play the organ for. A lot of this shit cannot be confirmed and is probably made up bullshit.
Yeah, he was trying to be like an Ozzy Osbourne type. He was like, yeah, I bit a head off a bat one time, like just like hyping himself.
But like in the 60s too, so like he was like really like probably that dude. That's probably all you had to do.
I mean, the 60s, you didn't have the internet to like disprove anything. You could just say that you had sex with Marilyn Monroe and a bunch of people would just be like, oh, no way, dude, that's far out. You know,
especially if you already have clout, like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is he eventually moved to L.A. and played keyboards for bars and nightclubs. It's kind of like his original, like, talent. He loves playing, like, the keyboard and, like, the fake organ. And if you really think about it, like, in the 60s, that was, like, a bigger instrument of rock and roll and music in general, which is grooving out on a fucking keyboard.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I would have fucked with that back then, man. Been in a club, dropping acid.
Especially if you're on
my bell bottoms.
Yeah, especially if you're catching some of those weird, like, you know, dark vibes. Like
Anton LaVey, like, when he moved to L.A., he started getting a little bit crazy with his reading. So he was reading and exploring the works of infamous occultists like Aleister Crowley, objectivist philosopher Ayn Rand, and nihilist philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Like, he was just one of those kind of edgelords dudes who's just reading about all these different ideas. And during his spiritual journey, he concluded that humans exist in an amoral world in which only the strongest survive, thus leading to the embrace of absolute selfishness, which was the antithesis of organized Christianity.
Yeah, he started to develop. Yeah, he started to develop like basically like a thing against like organized religion and seeing a lot of hypocrisy in organized religion.
Basically, with Anton LaVey, it was like, hey, you know what? Human beings are just animals, and all this religious shit that you're trying to say, like all these things about morality and all that, like in heaven and hell, like it's not true. Why are we enslaving ourselves to these ideas when we could just be animals like we're meant to be?
It's kind of crazy to think about because like. Every time, like, one of these newer groups pop up, they're, like, acting like they're saying, like, the most, like, profound, like, new shit. Like, I'm breaking fucking ground, man. Like, Christianity is a fucking joke. And you're just sheeple. Like, every group, it's just... Like, no, people have been saying this shit for fucking hundreds of years. You're not original. You're not new. It's always the same just type of fucking you versus them mentality, and it's fucking toxic as fuck.
Well, the key is to like sell it. Like when it boils down to it, all these ideas, Anton LaVey is just copying other people's ideas. He's not like a brilliant philosopher. He's just the one who said, "Fuck it, I'm going to like call it the Church of Satan." In fact, in the mid '80s, when he originally was kind of on the strongest trip of his whole like new kind of spiritual awakening, he originally called his group the Order of the Trapezoid, but that didn't seem to go down too well.
That's some harsh. The Order of the Trapezoid. He's just trying to, basically, he was just trying to like brand some cool shit. Like if we look at the like laws or whatever they were for the Church of Satan, some of that shit was just like, hey man,
Oh, we got plenty of laws.
I'm sure if like we were looking at this shit back then, like I probably would have been like, yo, this shit's fucking tight. But like 60 years later, it's mad fucking.
You can see there's a lot of weebdom to like the Church of Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan, and
they
like,
just
all
didn't
that
have
stuff.
anime yet. That's all.
Yeah, they hadn't fully evolved. They hadn't. They're like the earliest. Like they're the protoplasm of weebs. Like they're like, all right.
Yeah, if y'all could look up a picture of Anton LaVey right now, you'll see like a guy that looks like the head of the Church of Satan. Like he's basically like cosplaying as Mephistopheles or the devil himself. Like that's the whole idea.
Like,
Do us a favor, take some time out right now and look at this dude.
Look at this
like,
dude.
He's like on that Elvira type like wave. Like
Exactly.
if I didn't know anything about him and I saw a picture of him, I was like, oh, he hosted a Saturday night Halloween show on basic cable back in the 70s.
It really is. Though. His whole vibe is intentionally like kind of harnessing that vision of what we think when we think of the devil, like especially like 50s, 60s world. This corny like dude
his
just
voice,
with a cape.
the way he speaks, his mannerisms, like everything about him is just like a bad like horror movie from like that era. Like it's dope.
You want to listen to him talk real quick to our boy Joe Pine?
Yeah, I got you, dude.
Yo, shouts out to Joe Pine.
This is Anton LaVey on the Joe Pine show in the 60s talking about the Church of Satan, and see how a common man would react to Anton LaVey.
And spoken up for the devil. Everybody that's made rules and regulations concerning the devil or the devil's work, the devil's activities, have been people that have been very righteous people during crusades, people.
Well, I'm not too righteous, but on the other hand, I think you're a bit of a dingling. Let's face it.
Dude, he's trying. I mean,
This is like
fucking dingling.
This was like on network television, like one of the biggest exposures of Anton LaVey, and he just gets straight like fried by some crusty dude. Call him a damn
some
dingling.
late night host.
Yeah.
Just as any fundamentalist.
Most of us do, but we fight it.
Why fight it? This is, of course, the whole principle of my religion, is all of the
What do you mean you
concepts.
received the call? You mean one day the devil said, go out, Anton Zandor LaVey, and give people
LaVey.
hell.
The whole government name right there.
Anton Zandor LaVey.
Because
Yo, he
people
gave
like
his
to have a hell of
government
a
out.
time, don't they?
That's a
Well, of
fake
course,
ass
there are all
name.
kinds of
though.
definitions
Yeah.
of that.
Well,
Hold on.
Do we want to play
this?
this?
To marry two people
No, we don't need to play all that.
without a
Come on.
license.
Yo, cut that shit!
So, it was a little bit after he actually finally named the Order of the Trapezoid the Church of Satan, in which he actually got his disciples from the Order of the Trapezoid to basically just get hired to being like his main in-league people, like his main disciples. But from there, they'd have like all kinds of underlings, because you got to think in the mid to late 60s, there's all kinds of groovy weird people out there. I mean, this is L.A. You call a place the Order of Satan, and they're going to get onto your weird Order of the Trapezoid, magical Aleister Crowley ass ideas.
Yeah, there's just like there's a provocative nature to like naming it the Church of Satan, and it's divisive as well. So
Yeah.
like you're gonna make noise, you're gonna make headlines.
Well, I'm sure he was riding that wave from like, you know, the 60s, like that. You got Manson coming out, you got all these crazy serial killers, and everyone in the news is like, you know, the world's ending. Look at all these people murdering and killing and everything. And he's like, all right, cool, we're the Church of Satan.
There was
and
a
then you just got instant clout just from that fucking name out of nowhere.
And there was a connection, actually, low key. There was a connection from one of the Manson family killers who killed what was her name?
Sharon Tate.
Yeah, who killed her and actually had connections with Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan, which were really kind of like when that all. It was a couple years before the whole killing and stuff, but he kind of buried that shit, and it didn't really come out and surface until like years and years later.
Well,
But,
that's the thing is like Anton LaVey is like, even though he's like the head of the Church of Satan, he's not like he's not trying to make the world a worse place. That's not like really at his ideology. I think some people might think like, oh, Church of Satan, like that means like you want to kill people and you want to cause harm to the world, and really it's just about personal freedom. I mean, it's kind of dorky in the way that he goes about it, but that's really what it boils down to. And I know he didn't want to be associated with Charles Manson.
That's more what I was going to say.
No, definitely not.
Does he actually want to be associated with that?
The devil?
Even no, like Charles Manson, like
no, not at all.
The bad shit, like that's not part of their ideology at all.
He was more of an anarchist, like to modern religion.
He was an edgelord philosopher.
Let's get into some of their philosophy, actually, because I think we're talking a lot about like the lore and like, but like. It helps you understand more when... Well, maybe not so much the Church of Satan, because some of their shit's a little bit...
goofy.
Well, basically, I mean, so much of this was just him just kind of spouting out his philosophy. I mean, he began to give lectures on Fridays about magic and the occult, and eventually this growing mass of, like, outsiders and followers joined him. And it was in 1966, of course, that he declared year one of the Church of Satan. So even while he's performing rituals like baptism and funeral processions, the church was really beginning to gain like worldwide notoriety and fame just because of like his ideas that he outlined in the Satanic Bible. Just all of the, I mean, you can imagine this is such a press story just seeing this guy. But let's get into exactly what this is all about. Again, this is not about the worship or belief of the actual devil. It's really just about the idea of inverting all the principles and values that have been held so strongly by the Abrahamic God of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, i.e. like 10 Commandments, the 7 deadly sins, all that type of stuff. It's just a reversal of that.
Yo, shouts out to Abraham. Yo, thank you, Mark.
I was waiting on that.
Alrighty, y'all. So, let's get right into it. So these are the 9 satanic statements. There we go.
Let's hear them. Some of these are pretty fucking funny.
Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence. Satan represents vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams.
These are all with exclamation points at the end, so it's not just like...
Straight ripped from the Church of Satan official website, and all of them have exclamation points. Do you think Anton LaVey put exclamation points when he like was writing these out? He was like,
It translated through all these different versions onto our screen right now off of their page, so yeah.
Yeah, he must have.
These exclamation points are not accidents.
You know, my boy dug into that paper when he was writing that shit.
Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit. Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires.
Psychic vampires. I really...
We all know psychic vampires.
Yeah.
When I first heard that, when we first were looking this up, I was like, what the fuck? But now, like, I'm like...
It's like, I feel you.
Maddie, you've dated some psychic vampires,
Woo!
bro.
Ain't we all?
They're all psychic vampires, bro.
I mean, a psychic vampire is basically someone who just kind of like drains you, who just, you know, those people who just like you hear them talk and the way that they are just drains you of all your like your enthusiasm and your excitement,
all of your positive, good energy. Like, and you take some, you try to give these people some of your positive energy, and they take it and they swallow
all of it. They take all of it, like literally every fucking ounce.
Yeah. Preach, Maddie, preach,
there we
baby.
go.
Speak on it, baby.
Satan represents, this is my favorite one, Satan represents man as just another animal, sometimes better, more often worse than those that walk on all fours, who because of his divine, spiritual, and intellectual development, air quotes, has become the most vicious animal of all.
That shit's pretty deep, actually.
No,
man.
True though. No, for real.
I fuck with that.
That's the biggest thing that I get in all this. Essentially, like, the whole idea is we are just animals, and all of these systems of morality are just meant to kind of control us. And, you know, there's a conversation there whether or not we need to be controlled or not, but basically he's saying, hey, there's room for us to say fuck that shit. Because Satan represents, here's another one, Satan represents all of the so-called sins as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. That's a hot one. I mean, most of the sins do involve kind of something that will make you happy. So, here's the last one. Satan has been the best friend the church has ever had, and he has kept it in business for all of these years.
That's probably my favorite one, because if you look at Christianity, man, like, most Christians will tell you from a, like, broad statement that You know, you follow Christ because of the love. You know, you follow God because He loves you, and you love God. But deep down, most of them, they're the thing that's getting them so into the religion is that they're scared of eternal punishment.
Yeah,
Scared to go to hell.
If you didn't have that boogeyman there, like, what's the point of living a good life? And, you know, he's just like, Satan is like the leading cause to lead someone into Christianity.
I mean, for the longest time, they were preaching fire and brimstone. Like
they still do, man.
They
Look
still
at modern
do,
politics.
but it was like way more, you know.
Way
more used like back in the day.
Historically,
like,
there's a lot more literal fire and brimstone.
Like,
every argument against abortion is strictly from a spiritual sense of you doing wrong in God's eyes. Mm-hmm. There's no scientific or biological argument against abortion in modern day politics that has anything to do with actual science. It's all got to do with you're doing something wrong in God's eyes.
And all of that is led by...
And that's what he's talking about. You know, Satan is... Without Satan, there would be no church.
Without Satan, you wouldn't have felt guilty when you beat off the first time, and you wouldn't have felt like everyone knew. You know, it just.
I legit remember
the scapegoat.
He's a scapegoat of all.
The first time I smoked weed when I was like 14 years old, I was raised devout Southern Baptist, dude. Woo! And I literally fucking hit that joint and was high, and I came off of it, and I was like, dude, I'm going to fucking hell now. I was like legit like scared. Yeah. Like that shit. Like that was. It's crazy, like how fucking fearful you are on like a fundamental level from this shit.
Well, we're indoctrinated. I mean, people who grew up in the church and shit, including myself, you're indoctrinated with that shit.
And I'm not saying anything against the church. Like, I think the church is a good thing.
Yeah, no.
If you look at the core beliefs, not what it is nowadays. I think modern day.
I mean, I'm sure it depends what church you go to.
Right.
And that's, I mean, honestly, they've made a lot of the like non-denominational churches and stuff, and it's got it's gotten away from a lot of the. I wouldn't call it like ritualistic, but like if you like look at like Catholicism and like all the other religions. It's very ritualistic.
Holy
actually.
shit, dude, no lie. I went to one actual Catholic wedding, and it was some wild shit that I did not understand. There was like sayings that you're supposed to say.
Yeah,
like they say a thing, and you call back and you say a thing, and like and there's like all these little just ritualistic things, and I was like, never been to a Catholic church, never did a Catholic thing in my life, and like,
you ever been to a Catholic funeral? That's some crazy shit.
No, dude, and I was born and raised a Christian. I still, consider myself Christian. I'm not like heavy practicing, but like,
I have my core belief that like I still have, but like I don't like.
But that shit was wild. That shit was different. That shit made me really feel like out of my element.
Yeah,
like,
because
I don't even understand.
if you're going to like a Catholic wedding and you don't know like
things,
know when to like sit down.
Like the priest literally just chants something at you, and then like 800 people in the room just chant something back instantaneously.
And you're like, oh
what
shit!
The fuck?
We gotta do an episode in the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
we almost did. But I mean, really, the thing is that like. The ritual aspect, the satanic or the Church of Satan actually embraces that. Like they have weird rituals, like baptism rituals and wedding rituals, but they call it like intellectual decompression chambers because they realize like why people do rituals. Because like a lot of times when people go into like a Catholic ritual, like you're eating the fucking body and blood of Christ and all this weird shit, like all these weird rituals do essentially have a psychological effect on a person. Like it's not like you're actually tapping into anything spiritual. You're just like doing some like. For some reason, human beings are programmed in this weird way where we just do all this weird, like, alrighty then shit.
It's
and
tradition,
it's tradition, and it taps into some other part of our brain where it's just like, we are following the way, and I think, I love the fact that the Church of Satan calls them intellectual decompression chambers because they're acknowledging the fact that sometimes as people, we need to just not think.
Turn off, tune out, just do the things, robotic fucking...
And they're saying
I mean, it is. It's literally like... I mean, like I said, like I grew up Catholic, and it was all... It's the same thing every week. Like, you have to know, like, the cues. There's, like, certain cues where you're just like, okay, I have to say this,
It's all just robotic. It's like not even, like, you're really just tuning out, doing the fucking things.
You're just like... And it's almost like a... I mean, it's the same with... society nowadays is just like, you know, showing something to everybody. Oh, I know this. Like,
yeah, we all know the things. We're all doing the things.
Yeah,
we're all devout.
Yeah.
Well, I think, like, when I was a kid, I remember going to church and having moments where I would sit, stand, kneel, all this bullshit, and, like, I was like, I felt like, you know, it's like when you're playing like an RPG game and you're grinding for experience and you're like, eventually I'm going to level up. And like I would just sit there like, okay, eventually I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel Jesus. I'm going to feel like some like religious. I'm going to have this kind of interaction, but you just sit there and you never actually feel it. And I think a part of that is because like all the rituals kind of got dumbed down so much, and a lot of times people refuse to accept the fact that people just like rituals. Every time you go to like a concert and you're like putting up like metal horns or you're like moshing or anything like that, it's all just weird rituals that make no sense. Even a dance is a ritual, it's just a part of the way that people are. And the Church of Satan kind of accepts that. Like, they do have churches, they do have services, they do have rituals, but they don't do them because they actually think that they're invoking anything. Well, actually, they do kind of believe in magic, though. There is that.
I think a lot of the thing with the ritualistic thing, it feeds into like a guilt trip too. Like you're in a room where like this person, we're all doing the same thing, but this person's getting this out of it, and I'm not quite there yet. Maybe I should devote myself more to this. The church is like Satanism, like is really just like a complete like decompression of like getting out of like that whole way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything they do is just like you don't need to think like this. You don't need to. I just a big core of religion is just guilt, and Satanism is just like the opposite of that. It's like you shouldn't feel bad that you're lustful and you want to have sex or you want to.
You're an animal. You're an
animal. These are feelings,
animal tendencies,
and it's not wrong to feel like this as long as you're not hurting anyone. It's okay.
That's really the key. As long as you're not hurting anybody. That's really. I think that's like one of the key elements of this whole thing. Well, do y'all want to get into the 11 satanic rules of the earth?
Yeah. Let's hit that shit though.
So this one, I think the first one, I just want to say, I think the reason it's the first one is because they realize how, like the whole idea of shoving a religion down someone else's throat. This is the first rule, the first of the 11 satanic rules of the earth. Although it is kind of weeby. Do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. Do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. When in another's lair, show them respect, or else do not go there. If a guest in your lair annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy.
With the fuck? Hold on about that one. I gotta stop you right there, Church of Satan. If a guest in your lair annoys you,
your lair,
fine, whatever. You guys are into layers. I think the last one said something about lair. When in another's lair, fine, whatever. If a guest in your lair annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy.
Annoys you? Just annoys you?
Just for annoyance? Like
if you work in the cash register at Walmart and that customer is being a dick, be a dick back, man. Make him not want to come back, baby.
Without mercy, though, that like honestly, all these just sound like someone who like either
it
got out of.
It feels like entrapment. Like it's like, okay, finally someone's annoying me. Now I can fucking torture you. It's something about the wording I don't like.
There are definitely certain people you could like invite over your house and be like, haha, I'm a Satanist. No, I can beat the shit out of you, you annoying motherfucker. Like this is what my religion says. Honestly, a few of these first 4 rules to me just seem very much like someone who's just pissed off at like an ex-girlfriend or a roommate or someone working at like the fucking store or something like that.
Yeah,
like
she always gave opinions and advice when she wasn't asked.
Don't tell your troubles unless you are sure someone wants to hear them. Like
Claudette, are you listening to this one? This one's about you.
Whenever I went to her lair, she wouldn't show respect.
Well, those are the corny ones. Let's get into a couple good ones, right?
Yeah,
so
keep going.
Number 5, do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal.
Okay, pause. Sorry. Another one I had to look into a little bit.
Layers and mating signals.
Do not make sexual advances unless you are giving the mating signal. So I felt like...
What is the mating signal?
I wasn't the only one, apparently. This is something that, like, Anton LaVey has personally had to answer himself. I felt like the mating signal, maybe they got something. Maybe it's a Satanist thing where you do, like, I don't know, a mating signal, but no, basically Anton LaVey says, like, you know what the fuck. He's like, I didn't feel like I had to go into detail about human behavior, and like, he's like, when basically, long story short, you know when someone's trying to fuck, and you know when they're not. Like, you know,
He's like, when I said my lair, I meant my parents' attic. When I said the mating signal, I said sometimes like you just kind of know. Like, okay, so
Well, Mark, what if she's dressed a certain way?
in the 60s, that's what somebody would have said. Like, when you think about it, in the 60s, they'd be like, dude, you don't think it's all right? Like, if she's just like really hot,
Yeah, she showed her ankles, bro.
yeah, she showed her fucking ankles, bro. It's the 60s, and Anton's like, you know what? I'm a Satanist. I'm gonna tell you, no, that's not cool. You got to get the mating signal, and then they're like, the mating signal? Like,
yeah.
okay, so here we go. Do not take that which does not belong to you, unless it is a burden to the other person, and they cry out to be relieved. Which, what does that even mean?
So basically, I feel like that means like it's kind of like that psychic, the psychic fucking vampire shit. It's like, you know, you can't take on people's fucking shit and their like feelings and shit and all their stuff unless you know.
You can tell they need to,
and
like,
you
yeah.
need to get that shit off you. Like,
It's like
you know,
when you talk to a friend, you're like, dude, you're fucking up. This shit sucks. I'm telling you. Well, even though in this case, you're stealing. Maybe you think like he had like a friend who had like a girlfriend, and he complained about the girlfriend all the time, and then like he like had sex with his friend's girlfriend, and was like, yo, it's like,
that's a hot
Bro, I had to take it.
it was a burden to you, bro. You was always
I had to
complaining.
take that. I had to take
I
that,
had
bro.
to take
It was a
baby.
burden.
I was more capable than you.
It feels like at first it feels like something that's actually like fucking
Dang, can you pass me that? bro?
materialistic, like do not take, but then it gets a little empathetic towards the end of that fucking towards the end of that satanic rule of earth.
Oh, there ain't nothing in there?
So let's move on. Let's move on. So
Yeah, keep it going.
this is an interesting one. It really speaks to a big kind of one of the weirder sides of Satanism.
Of the Church of Satan.
Of the Church of Satan. Acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all you have obtained. So the big idea is that you have to keep talking about it, you have to verify it, because if you don't believe it, if you start to doubt it, if you tell people it was just a coincidence, like, yeah, man, I did this weird masturbation sigil, and then, you know, I won the lottery, but I think I just got lucky, then all your magic's going to disappear.
So did we mention that the Church of Satan believes in fucking magic and shit?
Yeah, they were there. I mean, Anton LaVey was a big fan of Aleister Crowley, who was like the OG, like, occultist. Like made magical spells, read ancient texts, did all kinds of weird sex shit. Like, he was shoving a bunch of
Yeah.
shit up our holes.
Yo, me and my girl like play the lottery a lot. Maybe I need to start getting into some of that dust shit.
Just
jerking off
Some of that
the
dick
dust.
dust.
Yeah.
I got that dust.
She just
trying to
busts into
jerk
the
off
room
in
like,
that
babe, it's dust. It's so we can win the lottery. Just don't.
It's
go.
dust or it's a bust.
You stupid. Boy.
All right. So here's another complaining ex or girlfriend one. Do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself.
Which I get that one, man.
Dude,
Yeah.
he really was going through some shit when he wrote that.
Nah, but you know that it's like when you got someone. It's like we're doing this podcast and like you're like, I'm so tired, I can't even think about doing this. It's like, all right, well, don't do the fucking
Don't fucking do it
podcast.
then, bitch.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what?
That's why we
you
gave
know?
up on Riff Raff.
Yeah. I was down for riff raff.
Maddie, are you listening to this shit? This should be your dating, like your advice for dating.
Is that going to become Maddie's inside joke of the podcast?
My dating life is
Your dating life before current is garbage.
Yes. All right. So, okay, here's a good one. Do not harm little children.
Dude, sick.
Solid.
Yeah, like
No.
Fair
but
enough.
like a
No,
lot,
no, fuck them
good.
kids. Fuck them kids.
a lot of these are just like your own like human impulses that you're like right from wrong. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a religious thing.
Other
like,
than some of the magic shit, it's like, don't be a piece of shit.
Yeah,
dude.
don't be an
Like,
asshole.
yeah, don't be a dick.
you know right from wrong.
Unless
you
they
know that-
disrespecting you and your Leia, then fuck them.
Yeah,
motherfuckers.
then you can go. Then be a dick.
Yeah,
That's-
it's interesting because all of these like good sounding ones, like when a guest in your lair annoys you, or do not make sexual advances, and all this type of stuff. Like, there's always some weird caveat that makes it sound dumb as fuck. But he didn't do that with the do not harm little children one. He was just like, do not harm little children.
Don't
He
hit
up.
no kids.
didn't say like, do not harm little children unless the little minions. You know,
There's no caveat to that
yeah.
one. Like, straight up, do not harm little children.
Like, don't fuck with the kids, bro.
Leave them
Yeah,
damn
come
kids
on,
alone.
leave them kids alone, man.
Okay, so this one I like. Well, do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for your food.
Or for your food.
Yeah, so, it's not a vegan thing. When walking...
Anton LaVey was not a vegetarian.
So, here's some more corny shit, although it's legit, but he had to say it in the dumbest way. When walking in open territory, bother no one.
He's talking about, like, Borderlands 3 or some shit.
If someone bothers you, ask them to stop. If they do not stop, destroy them.
Oh yeah, no, like you went in on that one.
Destroy literally
them. So if someone is in your, that's pretty much like some get off my lawn shit.
He's the quiet goth at school that also took taekwondo classes, and he would just get joked on the bus and then knock somebody out.
Yeah, just one day like whip out some crazy like moves,
like just one foot to the face.
Dude, that's that Satanism metal revenge shit that they love.
It is.
Anton LaVey loved low key. But all right. So we went through. What was that? We went through the fucking the 9 satanic statements. We went through the fucking 11 satanic rules of the earth, and we got one more list for Anton LaVey.
We got lists on lists, y'all. So finally,
this is my final list.
We got, and then we'll turn the fucking music off.
Because this is the legit list, though. This is like the sins of the Church of Satan.
These are the sins of the Church of Satan. Number 1, stupidity. Stupid.
Don't be stupid.
Y'all stupid.
Yeah, come on. That's number 1.
That's such a broad thing. Like, to some people, stupid is going to be different. Like, sometimes, like, I think I'm a smart guy, but sometimes I'll be getting stupid. Like,
I be so stupid sometimes. Look, I be so stupid. This is probably about a month or 2 ago. I was on the way to work, with my wife. We were on the way to work. I fucking thought that my seatbelt felt weird for some reason. I asked my wife who was driving, I was like, is my seatbelt right? And she looked at me like I was stupid. And then I did a thing. I was like, because it just felt like my arm needed to not be on the inside of the seatbelt, my right arm. So I took my arm out and I put it around the outside of the seatbelt. And then I knew I was stupid. And I was like, this is not right. And she looked at me like I was stupid, and I was like, okay. But that's the thing. That's so, we all do stupid-ass shit sometimes and have brain farts.
I've never done anything stupid.
I ain't stupid.
It was really dumb, and, I felt really dumb afterwards, but...
Just adjust the slide, bro.
No, it felt like, randomly, I feel like, do I have my seatbelt on right? And I took my arm out and I put it around and I was like, nah, that's stupid.
Yeah. You put it on the inside.
I put it on the outside of the seatbelt, because it's on the inside. Yeah. This is what it was, and this is way off key. But one arm when you're in the seatbelt is on the outside of the seatbelt, and one arm is on the inside of the seatbelt. Think about that and feel that for a second and see if that doesn't feel weird.
Mark, I'm too drunk right now to understand what you saying, but all I know is you're stupid.
Yeah. Number 1 rule of the sins of the Church of Satan.
We just fucked it up.
Yeah, and I fucked it up already, dude.
Mark,
all right.
We have to destroy you.
Yeah, if you break any of these sins, you will be destroyed. So the second one is pretentiousness, which is interesting because you with the first one being stupidity, that seems like a very pretentious sin. and then eventually you're like, but I'm not pretentious. I'm not a dick.
I'm not like that. I just mean don't be stupid.
But you can't fake stupid.
So this is the third one is interesting. It's solipsism.
Solipsism.
What
Another
the fuck
one.
That word
We had
mean?
to look that shit up.
Yeah,
we did.
What is that?
So
all right. Go ahead, Payne. You got it.
So solipsism is basically like when you're narrow-minded enough to think that like your perspective is the only one that can exist. It's as if you're the only person that exists in the entire world. So basically, you have to think from the perspective of a Satanist. If you were like a Christian person and you think like this certain form of morality, like you're going to judge anybody who doesn't adhere to that. Like think about it like this. Like say like you're wearing like a metal band T-shirt, but like maybe you're like a good person, right? And you walk by. Actually, this is me.
Hold on. That's the first. Wait, real quick, because that's the first rule of like band shirts. It's like a man is only as good as the band on his shirt, but
he's as evil as the band on his shirt if you're passing the church crowd. You know what I mean?
Said band is only as good as the bands on their shirts. So,
Yeah, the dude from Metro Station one
deep.
time.
That's heavy,
wore,
right?
Slayer
That was
t-shirt.
heavy as fuck.
So, I mean, it basically it's the idea that, like, if you're talking to somebody else, like, understand that, like, they might think totally different from you. Their experiences in life might have given them a totally different experience, and you can't expect them to understand things the same way that you do.
yeah, so that the band thing, the band rule, which I used to think when I was like 14, is solipsism.
No, I
You know
still
what I'm
think
saying?
that.
Because I'm like, and then you still feel that way when you see a guy who's wearing a band shirt that you're like, bro.
If I see a grown man wearing a Forever the Sickest Kids t-shirt, I'm judging.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
motherfucker.
you're getting
But-
judged.
Well, it's like if you see someone wearing, like, for me, like, the idea of Five Finger Death Punch seems very corny, but nowadays when I see people wearing a Five Finger Death Punch shirt, I'm just kind of like, you know what, man, like...
That guy has his own life and his
Yeah.
own journey, and he might be able to teach
He's got
me
6
something.
kids,
Just
he's got an
because-
angry wife.
Yeah, just because he's in the Five Finger Death Punch enough to buy a
All right,
fucking
all right,
shirt
hold
doesn't
on,
mean
hold on.
that he can't teach me a thing or two about life.
Okay, hold on. What if it's a Nickelback t-shirt?
Just because
Bro, he joined the Navy to serve his country, dude.
Yeah. This guy's got doesn't
But
mean
they're
just
on
because
the
this
radio.
guy's just because this guy's into Smash Mouth and like
Smash
doesn't
Mouth
mean
is a good band.
doesn't mean that you can't.
Somebody once told me.
This episode is a mess, y'all.
Yeah,
Holy
this is a-
shit.
but it doesn't mean that you can't give me some jewels about my life and the way I'm living it.
All right,
just
touche.
because you're into
But like
different
Five
shit.
Finger Death Punch is a radio band right now.
So, the fourth sin of the Church of Satan is self-deceit.
Know thyself. Don't bullshit yourself, bro. You can't bullshit yourself.
I think that's a lot to do with the whole idea of kind of like doing whatever it is that you want to do. Like, bro, like, why are you telling yourself that you don't want to do this shit? Like, just do it. Like, your body and your mind is telling you to do it. Why are you denying it? And then naturally a person will say, oh, because it's immoral or whatever, you know?
I feel like a lot of people would use this as like an excuse to be shitty, though.
Yeah, that's the thing about all of this is I think like you can see the positive in all of this.
They're like, hey, I'm an asshole.
Babe,
Yeah.
That's just
babe,
who I am.
I'm just an asshole.
Babe, I'm a Satanist. I had these urges to fuck this girl, so that's why I did it. It's got nothing to do with you.
I
It's
didn't
just
wanna
what
lie
I
to
wanted
myself.
to do. I didn't want to.
But what about the other side of self-deceit, where it's like you know you're doing something that's not good for yourself, but you're doing it anyways?
That's a good
heavy.
point.
That
Mhm.
is, and that's some real shit.
Like
that-
where
and-
you know, like I
that-
should not be fucking doing this.
That's probably what they're talking about, but with it just being such a broad just statement,
Yeah.
You can
it's-
really kinda
you can
take it-
anyway. But that's probably what he meant by it.
I mean, it's the same thing as like regular religion. Like, really, there's so many like rules within like Christianity or any religion that like you can twist it in any other way you want. That's why we have so many different denominations of Christianity. Is you can translate it differently. You can look at it one way, like, oh, what he really meant like was this. Like, you know, I can be an asshole. You know, people can find ways to use the Bible to justify like being rich. Like fucking Joel Osteen and all those types of guys. They, like, you know, they literally will cite the Bible as a reason for why they're the way that they are, why they shouldn't have to care about other people and they're in misfortune and stay rich, not, you know, give more money to other people. So the fifth sin of the Church of Satan is
Number 5.
herd conformity, which is interesting because the Church of Satan is not really centralized very well.
No, but I think they wanted to be. I think Anton LaVey wanted it to be.
He wanted to
like,
get that money because it costs money
Yeah.
to do that shit.
I think like I think they just kind of fell off as like being an organized type of thing. Like they've been a thing for what 50 years, and
Yep.
they haven't gotten even as close as far as the Satanic Temple has in the 5 years that they've been active. They've got IRS tax fucking exemption status as a religious fucking
Well, that's because the Satanic Temple isn't a bunch of dinglings.
Well,
Well, well, the Satanic Temple. I mean, we'll get to the Satanic Temple too, but also there's just like the Church of Satan is more philosophical. So you have all these rules that pretty much make someone be the type of person that wouldn't already kind of be a lone wolf. Like, I don't lie to myself. I don't believe that other people think the same way as me. I'm not pretentious or stupid. Like, when you look at all these different rules, the type of person that would actually become a Satanist is going to be the type of person who usually just kind of sticks by themselves anyway. It's inherent within the ideology. You know what I mean?
So is it not like being like part of like a herd, like, you know, kind of like one track mind, like where everybody thinks the same thing?
I think so. The thing is, guys, I do want to say,
Where, like, you can have your own interpretation of all of this. Like, basically, like,
That's a good question.
You know,
I
like
never thought about
because
it that
they want you to think a certain way, but at the same time, are they giving you that open option
So-
to like,
To
think
challenge
about it
it?
your own way? Like challenge what we're saying.
And I think you're right, because that's the thing that I was like, on that particular fucking sin, I was like, herd conformity, but like, which is like, they're probably talking about a lot of organized religion with that, and just like, kind of like, what we were talking about with Catholicism, just like, okay, we're just going through the motions, we're just tuning out and going through the motions, doing the fucking traditional things. And I was like, so it's that, this is trying to be kind of an organized religion, so there's going to be there's definitely going to be some aspect of herd conformity, even in the Church of Satan.
It's inevitable,
So,
you know.
yeah,
Whenever
you're
you
gonna
have,
get those fucking like pick me ass bitches that are gonna be like, oh, I want to do, you know, I want to be, yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like when you think of like just like if you like get into like punk rock or something like that. You know, like the traditional idea of thinking like, oh, all these punk rockers, but they all have the same mohawk, they all have the same fucking patches, they're just in a different order. You know,
This
it's
is
like
still a fucking herd.
Exactly.
They're doing $60 shows 20 years later after.
yeah. You know, clearly it's like not really about like absolute rebellion, but that's the thing is I think it's all a lot of this is just shtick. There's this big list of rules that you can kind of take as you please. The same thing that people do with organized religion. Sometimes maybe you want to be a little bit of a herd conformist. You know, whatever, dude. Like, what are you going to say? Like, oh, I'm breaking one of the sins of the Church of Satan? Satan doesn't give a fuck if you, like, if there was a Satan, I don't think he would care if you broke his sins or anybody else's sins. Just
Well,
do
give
your
a
own
fuck.
thing.
What's that quote from the Christopher Nolan Batman movies about like living long enough to be?
Oh, you're the hero. You're the hero, and you live long enough to be the villain.
Yeah.
basically.
So here's another one. Lack of perspective. So lack of ability to kind of like, I think it kind of goes with
Yeah.
solipsism.
I think so too. That's
True.
immediately what I thought. I was like solipsism. It's the same.
Because with perspective comes wisdom.
And the idea that people will be rooted in the way that they think. I mean, again, we talk about Five Finger Death Punch. Not everyone likes Five Finger Death Punch, but you get to a point in your life where you're like, man, who gives a fuck if people do? Like,
Yeah,
what does
that's
it really?
fine. You're like, yeah, at a while, when you're like in that like teenage angst, you're like, yo, fuck Five Finger Death Punch, fuck people who fuck with Five Finger.
Because I'm insecure and this makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah, I like this, and that's really what's up. But when
Yeah.
you get older, you're like, yeah, that's fucking fine. Some people like things that are things that I don't like, and that's fucking fine.
Some people like things that are, aren't cool.
I mean, but like, what is cool? Like, it just depends on your
Yeah,
perspective.
we like
Yeah.
things. Yeah, exactly. According to perspective, we like things that are not cool. Everything that we think
Yeah.
is cool is not cool.
Yeah, to most
and this
people-
whole podcast is stupid.
Yeah,
I mean-
absolutely. This podcast in general is definitely some shit that most people lack the perspective to give a shit about.
No, fuck you dorks. I'm cool as shit.
Okay, true.
But I mean, like, y'all be hating on Mark for like in Tool and shit.
That's true, yeah.
Exactly. You guys. Just
Oh, wait,
don't
no,
have
no,
the-
fuck, no,
y'all
that's
just
different.
don't have the perspective.
Nah, dude, Tool sucks.
Can you stop feeding into this shit, Maddie? You're not allowed to come back.
No, because I was laying in here the other day alone with the AC blowing on my body, just in the cave on that couch, which is super comfortable and good to sleep on, and just playing that new Tool album, and I was like,
Damn, you pissed Courtney
Yeah,
off
man.
like that. She made you sleep out here.
So, really, what I'm kind of getting at when you look at the sins of the Church of Satan, like, all of these are, like, in direct response to organized religion. And you can see how each of these is like that. And I think what's interesting is this next sin kind of plays into that.
Oh.
It says, forgetfulness of past orthodoxy. So at the end of the day, don't forget why you came here, motherfucker, because you saw all this organized religion bullshit and you realized how dumb it was. So now you are not going to be dumb, pretentious, closed-minded. You're not going to lie to yourself anymore. But don't forget the motherfuckers that tried to make you do that.
Yeah, I mean, the church is mad judgmental. I mean, can you imagine, like, going in dressed like we dressed into a church? Like, you're going to get a lot of, like, looks and everything.
no, some churches don't give a shit about that type of
That-
stuff.
well,
you
that's
know?
a lot
It
of
depends. It depends.
Some churches, but most churches, you go into a mega church dressed in a fucking shirt that I'm wearing right now.
You didn't get that from Walmart.
Yeah,
Like
they're
if-
gonna be like, "What the fuck is this dude?"
Like, if any of us go into a Joel Osteen's church,
There- there you
literally
go.
right now, like, there's gonna be some looks.
There's
that's-
gonna be
What kind of shirt these fellas got on
some-
down here? Oh, y'all need Jesus.
Yeah.
That's where
we're gonna have a prayer
lot of
circle
the,
around this.
Give me $50. I'll take that shirt right off your back, brother, and I'll give you a plain white T-shirt. That cost me $2.
I mean, this is where I've had my experience with like a lot of the like non-denominational churches. They don't try to go like by the old like, you know, rituals and stuff like that, where they're just like dress how you come as you are, like type deal.
They say
They
that.
say that.
They say that.
You're still
but
getting judged.
the population of old people in there are not.
Oh yeah, they're judging
Not
you.
feeling that.
They're judging you, but like they have like the youth groups now and like all that.
Well, you know
stuff.
what? We're being guilty of solipsism because those are just old people, came from a different time, gonna be weirded out by our bullshit.
Yeah, we can't expect boomers to understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I wish they would understand us, though, fucking boomers.
but by that same argument, then it's chill that the old lady's mad that Mark's drinking from the same water fountain as her.
Boom.
Okay, nice. Well,
I'm
well,
just
that's
saying.
a little bit of a false equivalency, though, between like a shocking T-shirt and like segregation.
I'm just saying though, that's a slippery slope to kind of like.
It's in
I
the-
see what you're saying.
It's in.
You
It's,
start excusing some behaviors, and that builds and builds and builds until you're excusing, like, oh, grandma's racist, but she's 80, it's okay.
yeah, being
Like, no,
racist.
fuck her.
Being racist is like the major
don't die soon,
leagues
though,
of the
you
shit
know.
that we're talking about.
I understand that.
But I'm saying it's still the same sport. You know, I know what you're saying.
You're building onto it. The more you excuse someone just like disregarding someone based on looks or something, you're building slowly to this where you're going to excuse someone being on the extreme side. Not necessarily saying
Every time that you kind of judge somebody, you're playing the T-ball of the
Exactly.
sport, where the
Exactly.
major leagues are being full-blown racist.
Exactly.
I mean, in a way, honestly, does that sound ridiculous? But
I mean,
yeah.
we in 2019, baby. Like,
Yeah, we in 2019, but there's still a lot of generation. I mean, you got to figure there's still people alive that were having to protest their right to just drink from a water fountain.
and that's crazy to even think about.
Which is
honestly.
actually, when you think about the fight against segregation, was actually around a very, very similar time as this. I mean, again, this was the 60s. There was a lot changing that sometimes we think in the 60s, we think of just like, oh, groovy, dude, oh, fuck, and then Charles Manson, Satanism. But really, it was also a big time when, like, you know, it was a turning point for our country, but we're also kind of getting, like, on some whole other shit
different
right now.
shit. So, okay, the sins of Church of Satan.
We got an
two
episode.
more.
We got an episode coming to y'all about the subject. So
I don't know if I want to do that one.
we don't have that coming.
So we went.
That's not really controversial.
Real quick recap: stupidity, pretentiousness, solipsism, self-deceit, herd conformity, lack of perspective, forgetfulness of path orthodoxes.
And then we got counterproductive pride, which I think that's an interesting combination of words. Counterproductive pride?
Well, because pride's an original sin, just of like Christian faith, and so they're like
pride is cool, but don't waste your time.
Yeah, they're not gonna. They're like, look, pride's got its place.
Yeah, pride gets a bad rap. Like, a lot of people talk negatively about pride, but it's not wrong to be prideful.
Bro, I just took a DNA test. I'm 100% that bitch.
Exactly. I'm saying, like, if you know you're good at the job and you know you can do something, there's nothing wrong with you being prideful.
Go ahead.
Oh, you just spoke to
You
my
earned
heart
that.
right there.
You earned that. You earned that
Ooh.
right to pride.
Just don't waste your time being like complaining or just looking in the mirror or whatever. Just
But
like I'm the shit.
But counterproductive pride.
Kanye's the counterproductive pride.
Yeah, his pride.
His pride's getting in the way.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even just wasting time. It's becoming, going back to the first sin, when like your pride makes you stupid.
It's just making you stupid. You're coming back to sin number one. Don't be stupid.
All these rules basically are what they're all totaling out to being is don't be an elitist fuck.
Well, here's the last one though. This is a fun one.
This is my favorite.
The final sin of the Church of Satan:
This pulls it all together.
lack of aesthetics.
All right,
You gotta be looking fresh.
You know what the deal is. You need to fucking look like you have been to the Matrix, or have seen the Matrix at least. Which they were working without the Matrix in 1967.
They didn't have Hot Topic. They didn't have Spencer's.
So,
like
like 90%.
Shouts out to Hot Topic, baby.
yeah. They're like, there's a look to all this shit, and like that's fine. You know, you can do your own thing, but like we kind of got a thing going on. Like,
What is
you know,
this fucking music?
No, but like,
Let's cut the music. We're about to get into the satanic temple.
but like
Playing fucking Final
90% of
Fantasy
Walmart
VII shit.
people like don't do that. Don't be showing up to Walmart in your pajamas.
Yeah. There's a look here, man. We got an all black look like kind of like if you were a vampire.
Honestly, for the longest time, like, that was kind of my shit. Like, I usually wear black pants and usually have black t-shirts. I had black hair in high school. That was weird.
Speaking on
I've
that.
always been about that
Yeah,
shit, dude.
Payne thought he looked like Keanu Reeves when he dyed his hair black.
No, I was
he said
told
that.
by one person, and we made it a joke, and then y'all were like, "Oh, this so Payne said that." I'm just like, man.
I mean, the all black
but-
thing is an aesthetic, you know. It's a thing, you know, and then they enjoy it.
Okay, so that is the wrap of the Church of Satan, and I'm wondering, do y'all want to? Well, actually, no. I was about to suggest something weird. I was going to say, should we do the Good Times of Killing segment now for that, and then for the Satanic Temple? But I think we should do them back
We
to
just
back
pull
together.
them all together, like
Yeah.
you know. I mean, because they're
very
you
separate.
don't, like you said, you don't get the Satanic Temple without the Church of Satan. Mm-hmm. They were the forerunners. They were the spearheaders. They're like, look, we're gonna fucking do this troll movement where we're gonna fucking be
honestly,
super provocative and be like, you know, it's Satanism is a thing, and like, you know, I know you think that it's this, but it's actually this really self-worshipping thing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I already know going into this, I have the same answer for both of them. So
Same.
So the Satanic Temple is a little bit different. Chances are, mostly, like, if you're watching the Vice documentaries or hearing about them on the news, you're not listening to stories about Anton LaVey's Church of Satan.
No, that shit's old news, bro. That's the old way. That's fucking... If you were a really cool boomer, that's probably what you were.
Yeah.
that's Elvis. We talking about Little Pete now.
Yeah. Oh shit! Damn you.
R.I.P.
Ooh, that's a
Yeah.
hot take.
So we're talking about the Satanic Temple, which was formed by Lucian Graves and Malcolm Jerry in as late as 2013. So this is like a fairly recent, I guess you could say, religion. Technically, it is a religion. Yeah. So So one of the biggest differences between the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple, right off the top, is, like I said earlier, is the Church of Satan is more philosophical, but the Satanic Temple is explicitly a non-theistic liberal activist group that uses imagery of Satan pretty much just to for like artistic purposes or for aesthetics. You know, they do kind of like the aesthetics still. They're still wearing black. They're not like it's some peaceful hippie group, but pretty much they're like PETA. Honestly,
There's still a
They're the
vibe.
PC
Don't get it
version.
twisted. There's still
It's
a
the
vibe.
PC version.
they're very don't get me wrong, I like both of these groups in some way, but there's way more of kind of like the a PC, like, leftist kind of vibe, and a lot of
Woke.
their demonstrations woke. They're a woke group of people.
Yeah.
You know, which I like. But I mean, they're definitely political. Like, you're not, it's kind of like, you know, it's like not every racist voted for Trump, but not every.
Not every Trump voter is a racist, but every racist voted for Trump.
Exactly. Not every
Bang,
liberal.
bang, there it is.
Not every
Hot
liberal. Not every liberal is going to be a Satanist. But if you're a Satanist, you're going to be liberal. That's all there is to it. But they're a little bit different. Their vibe is not as much of like you know, edgy, like fuck the rules type shit. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more like of a positive thing. And so this is what the Satanic Temple is all about.
Yeah. What's their mission statement?
So, the mission statement of the Satanic Temple is to encourage benevolence and empathy among all people, reject tyrannical authority, advocate practical common sense and justice, and be directed by the human consciousness to undertake noble pursuits guided by the individual will. Politically aware, civic-minded Satanists and allies in the Satanic Temple have publicly opposed the Westboro Baptist Church, advocated on behalf of children in public schools to abolish corporal punishment, applied for equal representation where religious monuments are placed on public property, provide religious exemption and legal protection against laws that unscientifically restrict women's reproductive autonomy, expose fraudulent, harmful, pseudoscientific practitioners and claims in mental health care, and applied to hold clubs alongside other religions and after-school clubs in schools besieged by proselytizing organizations.
Yo, your boys are active as fuck. They're in here. They're out here fucking doing shit. Kind of being a little bit trolls, a little bit. They're trolling. They're trolling,
That's
right?
their whole basis, man.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's
to show
but
how
that's the commonality.
ridiculous- Yeah.
That's a common thread between the two. Is they're both kind of they're using this imagery to offend, but I get the aesthetics. You know, like, again, these people also dress very dark. Like that, all that shit sounds great. Like, oh, compassion, empathy, help kids, like don't fuck up the world, like respect people's autonomy, like be good to other people. That all sounds great, but these motherfuckers are just wearing black shit and doing like weird, like look like holding like little satanic rituals of their own, which are all bullshit. Like none of the, again, this is another group that they do the intellectual decompression idea of ritual, but again, these motherfuckers, no, they don't worship Satan either. They don't make actual sacrifices. They just like to get groovy and get weird.
I mean, they're not bathing in goat's blood and shit.
No. Neither group actually believes in an actual. No one believes in Satan more than like Christianity and Catholicism.
Yeah, that's the ultimate irony.
Like.
So let's get right into the 7 fundamental tenets of Satanism.
Of the Church of Satan, right?
Of the temple, of the Satanic Temple. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason.
That's a little different than Anton LaVey's, live in harmony with animals unless you got to eat or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's just saying, like, be good to everything, like, in accordance with reason. But what do you think when they say in accordance with reason? Like,
I think he's still... That leaves a little bit of gray area for if you're not fucking vegetarians.
Yeah.
Don't be just fucking trophy-killing animals.
Mm-hmm.
But if you fucking eat animals and you're going to eat them, then, don't kill them. Don't waste, be respectful.
I mean, this
But
is
also at the same... Like, if you look at the whole, like, industry of, like, like meat...
This, to me, is saying
It's
punch a
brutal.
Nazi in the face.
Well, when it says reason, that's according to a person, that makes it subjective.
It gives you a lot of gray area. Super
But it's
subjective.
basically saying, like, on top of that, just, like, make sure that at the end of the day, it really is from a place of compassion and empathy. So, like, if you're, like, doing some hippy-dippy bullshit walking, like, well, this is a nice thing to do, but if you walk, like, an old lady across the street, that's acting with compassion and empathy. If you punch a Nazi in the face, at the end of the day, if it's actually guided by compassion and empathy for the people that Nazi is against, if it's actually that, not just you trying to get, be an edgelord dude who, like, looks cool for whatever reason, which, at the end of the day, you're still punching a Nazi, so whatever. What am I saying?
Fuck Nazis.
I was going to
At the end of the day,
At the end of the day, fuck Nazis. I think that's what you were saying.
At the end of the day, yeah, essentially. But, like, make sure that even your bad things are rooted in a love for other people, at the end of the day. And this is a good one. This is the second of the 7 tenets. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. So again, if you got to punch a Nazi, it kind of, that's a one size situation for all of these, really. But seriously, the struggle for justice is an ongoing necessary pursuit. Like, I like that idea because essentially it's saying, like, it's taking away the idea of, like, from the Church of Satan that is, like, rules are meant to be broken. This is like, okay, like, this isn't like taking a hard stance against rules. It's saying specifically rules that prevent unjust rules, right?
Yeah, nothing's set in stone, basically. Like, some rules...
They're very pro-LGBTQ, so they're against, like, anti-gay marriage laws and shit like that, anti-gay discrimination laws and stuff like that.
I mean, anything against people in general.
Just because, again, back to the racism thing, just because, that was the law of the land, you shouldn't be respecting something that's infringing on someone's right to their pursuit of happiness or liberty. You know what I mean?
So, like,
I feel like that one specifically, like you're saying, that one specifically is like, we're still learning as a culture, as humanity, how to understand different people's struggles. So, like, and even though, like, civil rights movement is basically, like, the civil rights movement isn't the end of struggles for justice for whoever. Like, this is an ongoing struggle, and it doesn't stop. So things change and keep progressing, keep moving forward. And
the other thing is, too, this is a very Christ-like thing to look at.
It is.
Yeah.
Jesus hung out with murderers, sex workers, and all these people, and he respected them and tried to understand. He took a stance to understand where they were coming from and try to treat them equally. He washed the feet of a prostitute.
Dude, there's so many, like,
it's a very their mission, their whole, like, guidelines is very Christ-like.
I do like it. Kind of makes me think of, like, when at the end of the day, like, when people are against, like, illegal immigration, which, I mean, I know we have to have, like, some sort of border protection, but at the same time, when people just say, like, well. Like, when someone hears, like, about some family that, like, got separated or, like, someone got killed and they're like, well, shouldn't have broke the law.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have come here illegally. It's like, dude, why is that your... just angry, just like
the law is some like moral guideline. The law is just something that someone made. There was laws about beating your wife back in there. There was laws about fucking having people be slaves. The law of the time isn't necessarily the right thing.
And that's essentially what conservatism is, which now we're really sounding
like, we're getting on some bullshit.
Well, yeah, guys, don't worry. These are just some goofy liberals. We're not like that, guys. We're cool. But then we're just like, you know what, guys? You know what?
You shouldn't be choked out for selling a loose cigarette.
I just see a lot of like similarities. I just see a lot of similarities between like Christianity and what the Satanic Temple is trying to like do, bro.
Because at the end of the day, dude, like Jesus was actually pretty cool. Like if you actually read it, he's actually really cool.
Let's get to the next fucking fundamental tenet, bruh.
I'm not going to do an edgelord voice for this one because it's a pretty solid one. But again, this is a similar one in this with the Church of Satan. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone, which basically means don't touch other people unless they want you to. Whether it be through violence or sexually in general, you know. In any way.
And even one's body, so even your body. It's kind of like my body is a temple, your body is a temple, but it's like taken to another level. Like, it's like subject to one's will alone. So it's like your body's a temple, but like it's up to you to decide to do with you. Your body's a temple, bruh, but it's up to you to decide like what you want to do with your body. So like, if your temple's getting like super ripped and tatted out, that's sick, bro, and you can do that,
dude.
And Satan respects that.
Satan is cool with that, dude. Satan's mad chill. Like, what if really Satanism is just like a bunch of dudes who really fuck with Jesus?
Honestly, this sounds
and we're like, no, just trick them by being Satanists.
No, but for real, like a lot of these just sound like amendments to like the old
country that I'd like to live in.
Oh God! No, but
honestly,
they sound like amendments to like the old ways of religion. Like honestly, they're just like okay, like
they're not even amendments. So this is what was preached in the New Testament.
So
half of this shit was what Christ spoke.
Yeah,
they're just talking like Christ.
They're come to the noise and they're just like wait. But this is like what this is what like our moral center is actually about, right? This is the best thing that like Western society's come up with morally, right? Like this is what we actually did, and they're just like, fuck no, like women can't have abortions.
But like, cut out all the bullshit.
Send them back over the wall.
Two mans want to hold hands.
I'm too busy being pissed about men getting married to realize that I should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason.
This song goes so fucking well with this stuff.
Should we continue? Should we continue?
Yeah.
Okay, so like the freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend even. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of others is to forgo one's own.
That's where I kind of don't fuck with what they're saying here. Is like, it's like at that point you're giving like credence to like, no, we should respect a Nazi's point of view. Like, it's kind of just fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at all of these as being very broad, I mean, it does kind of invite that as a potential caveat to it.
So I was listening to this podcast today. I think it was called like Tinfoil Hat or something like that. But they actually had Lucian Greaves on, and he was saying about that specific tenet of the Satanic Temple, that's where they lose the most people on that one. And he says it's actually surprising to him because... But I kind of understand exactly because of that perspective that you have. Because basically, they're like, look, and he even said this on the podcast, Lucian Greaves. He said, basically, he doesn't feel like hate speech, quote unquote hate speech, should be banned unless it's specifically targeting or enacting some kind of
inciting violence,
and so on. But that's like such a gray area, and that's where there's such.
So I can kind of agree with that statement. Is like everyone should have the right to say something, but I feel like you should also, by having that right, you should also have a right to face a consequence for having that belief.
And that's true.
You should be able to say something like whatever those fucks are preaching.
Something
But
inflammatory.
at the same time, you should have the right to be able to lose your job and get a fucking punch to the face.
And I think what he was basically getting at is like trying to suppress those voices and ban these voices. Basically, just makes it more inflammatory. It builds it up, and people kind of gravitate towards it a little more.
It's also a slippery slope to just let it go unchecked. Man.
Yeah, so I'm honestly, I don't know really how I feel about that specific aspect of it all.
There's a little bit of that that's kind of reminds me of like some LaVeyan shit where it's like including the freedom to offend. Like everything sounds like really legit and like like even when you look at it broadly, it still works. But then he uses that, and you're like, it brings a little bit of the edgelordness back into it, where it's like, and we can offend, which will kind of will apply later when we look at some of their like their performative art and everything like that. But their fifth rule or tenet of the Satanic Temple: belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care to never distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs.
I fought with that.
Let that breathe.
It's breathing.
You shouldn't. I think that goes back to like abortion. Like I was saying earlier, man, there's no like scientific like.
This music does not work with abortion.
Yo, cut the music.
Hold on, guys. We're talking about abortion.
The only argument against abortion comes from a religious and spiritual level. Scientifically speaking, something without a brain is not a living being. You know what I mean? Their argument is that a baby has
got a cell
from a fetus. That's your only argument, is that it's immorally wrong to abort a fetus is because it has a soul. It's a creature of God.
I mean, I also think that like this isn't like as much philosophically, but I think you can also kind of apply that to like climate change and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, like we should base our reality around like science, like the pursuit of objective understanding of reality. We should probably like believe that, like when it boils down to it. And yeah, that definitely does apply to abortion. That's definitely a big part of their activism, and we'll talk a little bit later about some of their demonstrations. One that I really like, the sixth one, is people are fallible. This is more of a philosophical one. People are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that it might have been caused.
It means that basically it kind of goes back to the struggle for justice is ongoing, and it kind of breathes into that a little bit. Like, shit is constantly changing, and we're learning more, and we're growing as people and as a society, as humanity. We're wrong sometimes, and when you're wrong, you need to just be like, oh shit, I'm wrong, and I'm going to try my best to work on it and figure it out. Like, don't be a fucking doofus and just keep digging deeper, a bigger hole, when you're already kind of realize that like you were living in some bullshit.
I can relate to that on a personal level. I mean, if you like, we all grew up at a weird time. Like, the internet was just on its cusp, and like when we were all 14, we were. I don't know about you guys, but I was an edgelord. You know what I mean? Like,
I've been when I was, I think, in my like early or late teens, early 20s. I was definitely all into like conspiracy theories and shit like that, and like Zeitgeist. Like, I don't know, y'all know about the Zeitgeist movies. Yeah, I was like, yeah, man, it's all just a big plan. Man.
We've all been on our bullshit.
Well, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking like saying like problematic shit back in the day, dude. Because I just I used to use the F word a lot. Yeah. Like when I was like a kid. Mm-hmm. I didn't know any better. I just was like, I don't mean it this way. I'm meaning it this way.
You watch South Park. And
exactly.
Yeah. We've all been on our bullshit.
And like looking back now, like, I've grown from that. I think that's the big thing, is like, you got to grow from that shit. Like, I became an adult and I realized, like, whoa, these are fucking people going through some shit. And by me saying that word, I'm fucking them up.
I'm just like not really helping. Well, you know what? That's kind of like why cancel culture isn't really cool. People fucking are people, and we make mistakes, and we need room to grow. Not saying that like some shit isn't unforgivable.
There are
and some people
instances.
don't. Not everyone changes, but like
Like that SNL guy that got fired the other day, he should have got fucking fired.
What were his posts about?
It wasn't. He was in podcasts like a year ago, like calling like Chinatown, like calling them the C word.
Yeah, it was
and like saying it was like C Town and.
It
shit
wasn't
like
even
this.
like in a joke or trying to be a joke.
Yeah.
It was just a little
And
bit.
then
Like,
This is how I feel about Chinese people.
And then
It's
when he got
cringe.
called out on it,
Jesus
he was
Christ.
like, "Oh no, it's comedy.
I'm a comedian. I
I'm
make
pushing
jokes
the edge.
sometimes.
You're not
you know,
pushing the edge,
you were
dude.
not making jokes. You were just being racist.
When I first heard it, I was like, "Yo, man, why y'all like this is like probably some shit from like 10 years ago, and you're giving this dude shit. Like, fuck off." And then like I heard the actual clips, and I was like, "Nah, man, this." And they were like, "Oh yeah, that was 2017." I'm like, "What?
Yeah,
the
your boy.
fuck?"
Yeah.
There's always a fine line with these types of things. I mean, I think when they say like when people are fallible, it kind of boils down to like you know some people are going to make mistakes. It really boils down to like at the end of the day, did it actually speak to like their character, or did it speak to them being a product of their environment and their time and their place? And you know, I mean, you can't even make excuses for everything, but at the same time, it's like you know. Give people the benefit of the doubt. You know, don't. Again, it all boils down to sincerity. Don't hate somebody just because you want to hate them. Don't hate someone just because it makes you feel better about yourself. Like, if you're gonna have a problem with somebody else, like you should see something deep in them. If someone is like deeply fucked up, like they're just calling fucking Chinese people the C word.
If someone's trying to grow and legitimately make themselves a better person, you shouldn't be hating on them for their past mistakes.
Yeah, that's really what it boils down to.
Everyone's human, and we all have room to grow. And
We
be
all
better
had
people.
weird environments we grew up where we didn't know what everyone else was, and we grow from it. You know, we all learn and change.
I think it goes back to like solipsism, bro.
Hell yeah,
Yeah, dude.
So-
Oh fuck, dude. Oh yeah, I'm about to drop that word tomorrow. Like, well, I personally believe in solipsism, and they're gonna be like, oh shit, this dude's fucking smart. I don't know what that means.
Mr. Payne is deep as fuck.
Oh, excuse me.
Mr. Payne is deep AF, bro.
So the final rule of the Satanic Temple: every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. Yeah! Hell yeah!
Yo, shouts out to the song though. Man.
So that all might sound like really like lofty and nice, and when it boils down to it, that is consistent with everything that they do. But again, you have to remember that the Satanic Temple is a political activist organization. They're more like a PETA than they are like a fucking like Mormonism or what's in the word, like Scientology. It's not really like a religion. So a big part of what they do is they have public demonstrations and events to kind of protest things that they perceive as being fucked up or hypocritical. Their main vendetta is separation of church and state, though.
Well,
They've got like a huge they've got like a bigger activist type vibe.
Yeah.
If you think about like what that's saying right there, it kind of boils down to like, so I mean the whole thing with nowadays like not saying certain things that were quote unquote acceptable before, you know, like everything changes with the times.
So it's just like it's kind of like that other tenet. Things aren't written in stone. We're constantly growing and we're constantly evolving as people and as humanity and as society. And I think I heard Lucian Graves say something else on that podcast about this specific tenet and why on that Baphomet statue that they were like, I guess, threatening to put up next to the Ten Commandments statue in Missouri that was being erected. He said that specific tenet was why they didn't put carve the tenets on the Baphomet statue.
Wait, what's in it?
This last one, this is, every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word.
So there are people that were saying like it's okay to.
Basically, they were saying like even if they did erect the fucking Baphomet statue, they weren't going to have these tenets of the Satanic Temple carved into it, like the Ten Commandments, because it's an ever-evolving thing, and these things aren't written in stone.
Mm-hmm.
As in the Ten Commandments, sure, they're all, you know,
Literally
there's some
written in
guidelines
stone,
and stuff,
man.
But
they're
Ten
literally
Commandments
written in
are
stone, like
stone.
biblically written
Yeah.
in stone and carved in stone as like, you know, these are the guidelines, you know, and it's not like that. It really isn't, and we are figuring the guidelines out as we grow and evolve as humanity.
Well, I think a big part of it is also that a lot of their demonstrations and their monuments are all kind of like there's an artistic element to them. I mean, like, for example, there were a couple of like the notable public demonstrations they did, and like right when they launched, like the beginnings of the Satanic Temple, there was basically after the Boston Marathon, the Westboro Baptist Church had announced that they were intending to like picket the funerals of the people who had died there because they're saying like, oh well, they died because the gays get married, you know, like some dumb Westboro Baptist Church type shit. So Lucian Graves and the Satanists, the Temple of Satan, straight up hosted what's called a pink mass over the grave of the mother of the Westboro Baptist Church's founder. Where basically what a pink mass is they he took a couple gay men from their head, like he squished their heads together and they made out over the grave of the mother of the dude who founded.
He married them.
He married them.
Yeah, he married them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And a couple lesbian couples too.
They did a couple marriage ceremonies, a couple LGBT marriage ceremonies over the mother of the Westboro Baptist Church
on her grave.
Well, I don't know, were these all on the same day? Because I hope these were on the same day he slapped his dick on the tombstone.
Oh no, it was the
I believe
same
so.
day.
Yeah,
that's how he officiated it.
He also teabagged. I don't know what the purpose of that was, but they also teabagged.
Say fuck you, just a big fuck you.
Yeah, just
it was a big fuck you. That's all that.
But I mean, fuck them. Honestly, I mean, it's kind of fucked up because that's like their mom, but she's probably a piece of shit too. I don't know.
She teabagged the grave.
She raised that motherfucker.
Yeah. So chances are, if you're that deep on Westboro Baptist Church shit, you don't just find that on your own. That's some like mother shit who's like, no, son, you will be a great Christian. Fuck
what
you.
other notable public demonstrations and events do we have from the Satanic Temple?
So most famously, in 2005, the Satanic Temple made a statue of...
2015.
2015. They made a statue of Baphomet that was intended to be erected outside the Oklahoma Capitol in response to the unveiling of a Ten Commandments statue. So this is probably the most known thing. That they've done this several other times at different places. But basically, like, wherever you see a Ten Commandments statue pop up in the United States, you will see the Satanic Temple roll up with a fucking statue or some shit saying, like, hey, like, separation of church and state says you cannot have this religious symbol and monument on state property, let alone the fucking state capitol.
So if you're going to have this religious monument or religious statue or whatever, well, then it's all right for us to have this, religious, quote-unquote religious, Satanic Temple Baphomet here. Which isn't going to really actually say any wild shit. It's, as you see, according to their tenets, it's pretty...
It's a goat-headed person with two kids sitting on it.
But the visual of the Baphomet... Do you want to describe what the Baphomet is for anyone who might not know?
Well, the original Baphomet is basically like a representation of like duality between like sexes and all things. The Baphomet is kind of like the physical manifestation of like a yin-yang symbol, where the Baphomet has like both male and female parts. Like so in a lot of images, the Baphomet will have like big women tits, but then like have a big man dick, and have like but also will have like a goat's head, and like pretty much be like a symbol of like just absolute like duality in all things. However, the statue that they had didn't have either of those things. It took out all the sexualized parts of the traditional Baphomet, and it's pretty much just a goat person sitting in a chair with its fingers pointing up. And I guess the weirdest part about it is that there are two kids on the side that are looking up at him while he's like pointing up.
The Baphomet. Have you seen any satanic? Or anything metal as fuck, or metal related with the upside down fucking pentagram, like the Baphomet. You've seen the Baphomet. It's like a goat head dude, chick, with you half person, half goat body, and it's kind of a symbol of Satanism.
If you've been in a Spencer's, you've seen the Baphomet. If you've been in a Hot Topic, you've seen the Baphomet. So this is kind of like one of the most popular things that they like to do. But also in 2015, the same people actually from Detroit, from the Satanic Temple, counter-protested several pro-life demonstrators outside of a Planned Parenthood through a piece of bizarre performative art in which faux priests would drench kneeling women with milk, which was meant to, like, pretty much it's like these like dudes, these cool edgy Satanist dudes dressed up like priests, like with like Halloween costumes, basically, with like a woman in like a white garb, just like praying up at him while he pours milk all over her face, which is supposed to symbolize how pro-life people are trying to force women into motherhood. They're like gagging them with their motherhood.
Was that the same one where they had the baby?
That's a different one. That was a year later. Actually, from the same Detroit people, where they did a counter protest where they dressed up like giant babies with diapers and masks while donning BDSM gear, which was supposed to symbolize like the supposed like idolatry of pro-life Christians, like how they idolize the fetus and like always show these fucked up images of like crushed fetuses and shit. They're like, all right, we'll come at you with some other fire.
Yeah, pretty provocative. You think the pro-life people will get it?
No,
not at all.
that documentary had like one of the greatest scenes ever. Like Payne pointed out, where the ladies like they're just being really just disgusting.
They're trying to shock us.
And then it pans out, and she's got a picture of an aborted fetus.
Like a big-ass picture. It's like a mini billboard.
On a fucking, like, poster board.
But that's the thing that fucked me up is because, like, she doesn't get it at all. She doesn't see that. She doesn't see that Black Mirror shining back.
I love
at
that
her,
you put it like that. It is some Black Mirror shit. It's like, this is like it's like an inversion. It's like the actual evil people are dressed in white, and the people that actually have the good ideas are dressed in black. It really boils down to that. But, I mean, I do get it to a degree, though. Is like when you're looking at the videos of like these counter protests, you're kind of like, I mean, honestly, yeah, it's fucking weird. Like,
y'all doing the most a little bit.
It really is like some PETA shit. I love the cause of PETA. I myself am vegan, but like PETA does a lot of demonstrations where I'm like, man, you're just alienating people from our cause. Like, you're just making the whole shit look stupid.
I mean, I wouldn't put it even. I don't think it's quite as bad as PETA because like they're not like purposely trying to shock a bunch of children. They're not outside of a like.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man.
PETA stands outside.
That's pretty shocking.
You saw that lady like doing the like cross over her child as she like walked past.
Yeah, but you're bringing your kid to a protest where you have aborted fetuses.
Yeah.
You're showing gore to your own kids. These people are just being goofy.
It is wild. It is wild to bring your kid to that, but
yeah,
in a way, I kind of get it, dude. It's like they think. In their minds, they think something really awful and fucked up and, like, really just... I don't know. They think that people are just, like, murdering babies, like, for fun or something. I don't know. And they think it's something cool.
I mean, I get that, but you're still subjecting your kid to those views.
Which is wild.
I mean,
I'm
you're
wild.
trying to shock your kids.
I'm totally against rape, but I'm not going to show people videos of... Like,
that was a hard one. I'm totally against rape, but... What the fuck?
No, but I'm not going to...
Hot take.
I was listening, I was like, whoa.
I'm not going to show people simulated rape scenes to show them how horrible
how bad rape is.
Yeah,
right though. No,
The act itself, if you're going to be against abortion, you can protest without showing a bunch of gore. I can be against rape without showing a rape scenes from movies or shit like that.
Yeah,
it's wild.
I kind of feel that way about long rape scenes in movies, where it's like, I get what you're trying to do, man.
Yeah,
that's why
you
could have just implied it.
What was that fucking movie we watched?
Irreversible?
No, Takashi.
Which Takashi?
the Visitor Q. That's why I could not watch that fucking movie, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of intense and long rape scenes in that movie, but we're not different.
Listen to that episode if you fucking want, I guess.
Yeah, if you want to, if you're like actually like interested in like some fucked up shit that we're covering, because we don't usually do topics that are like particular. I mean, they're always kind of dark. But these are like intentionally dark. If you want to listen to like some more dark shit about with us, definitely listen to the Takashi Miike episode. But that, I mean, both those protests or those demonstrations definitely kind of show like this. That's where people argue a lot. In fact, we actually have an interview with Tucker Carlson where Tucker Carlson is talking to Lucian Graves, and he's just going in on this motherfucker. He's so pissed off, and Tucker Carlson is a close-minded fucking idiot. But it kind of speaks to the way that Satan, the image of Satan, and that these kind of demonstrations really trigger people.
Bakery, because why don't you back off and let people live their lives? In fact, why don't you do that, Lucian Graves?
Right, exactly.
If indeed that's your real...
Because religion is a protected class. So
whatever.
Either take
you're
away
making
the
a nonsensical point, and I think you should crawl back into your hole.
Jesus Christ, dude!
Wow.
Again. So you've listened to 2 clips this entire episode where the dude's talking to Anton LaVey and calls him a fucking what do you call him, a dingaling? And Tucker Carlson just told Lucian Graves, the leader of the Temple of Satan, to crawl back into his hole. I mean, this is the type of reaction that people get. It's very ironic. Like, these are people who've actually considered their morality on a much deeper. These are people who have contemplated their moral code a lot more than fucking Tucker Carlson has. But where their morality is kind of steeped in some kind of tradition.
Does that guy even have any moral compass? Like,
no, he
really?
dog whistles every day of his fucking life.
Just,
fuck him.
Yeah,
he definitely brought that
guy.
dude. He definitely brought Lucian on to just kind of like shut him down and try. He talked over him the whole time.
Yeah, but like
there's a couple interviews with him.
Honestly,
he does that.
if you watch that, who looks more professional?
Lucian Graves.
Yeah,
there's one part in one of the interviews where he's like, you know what? I think all this stems from? It stems from a bad childhood experience.
He just like decides he's gonna fucking diagnose him. Like, on Fox News.
And Lucian Graves is just like, what? And it's like, dude, you're the one who fucking every single day you just yell at people for a living. Like, what the fuck happened to your childhood to make you like this, Tucker Carlson?
Cuckold Carlson.
Damn right, yeah.
Cuckold Carlson.
Cuckold Carlson. Are we the first ones to do that? Holy shit.
Dude, that's fire.
Trademarked and copyrighted.
Yeah, I was about
to kill this podcast.
Yeah. So, and this is what's crazy, actually. Even though the Satanic Temple always, like, people always say, like, hey, man, y'all should sign for tax exemption. Like, wouldn't it be cool? Like, that would really stick it to them there. I guess, like, they felt like the laws on actually earning tax exemption through if you, like, had a religious institution, were strict enough that he didn't feel like it was worth rebelling. But it was around the time that Donald Trump had issued it was an executive order, pretty much, to make it a lot easier for church groups to get tax exemption. He was like, all right, bet. Well, if these fucking idiots can get it, the Satanic Temple's going to get it. So the Satanic Temple applied to the IRS.
And they was like, send it!
Yeah, they fit the criteria, and as of April of this year, the Satanic Temple is a tax-exempt religious institution according to the IRS.
I mean, honestly,
you made it.
I think all of them should be paying taxes. I don't think there should be a tax exemption for a religion. Like,
I think that's their whole point.
No,
because they're like, hey, like
Joel Osteen or whatever the fuck his name, Osteen, he should be paying some fucking taxes on his fucking private jet. Like,
no, man, we've got. I'm going to tell you, we got 5 million people in this church who found Christ and give me money. Found Christ. Like,
that was perfect.
But no, man, it's all fucking... Man, pay your fucking taxes, dude.
Yo, K-Town hates when you don't pay your taxes.
I do, man. Shout out to fucking taxes, man. Pay your fucking taxes. Contribute to society. Don't be a piece of shit. Pay your fucking taxes.
That's a hot take.
Okay. This has been a little bit of a strange episode. I'm not going to lie. I think Satan himself kind of came down and was like...
Yo, shouts out to my boy Satan.
Honestly, yeah. Well, let's get into it. Are the good times killing us? And do y'all want to separate that... whatever y'all want to do. I'm going to separate them by both of them.
By the Church of Satan
and the
Satanic Temple?
I want to address them separately, but, who wants to kick it off today? Who's going for it?
Maddie?
Are the good times killing us, Maddie?
Maddie, are the good times...
Honestly...
We're talking about... Maddie! We're talking about the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple, bruh.
Dude, honestly...
Are the good times killing us?
Like...
Notice me.
I mean, I hope Senpai notices me right now, but honestly, like a lot of their like values and a lot of their different, rules and whatever, like none of it's bad. Like you think like Satanism, you're thinking like, oh, like dark, like
straight up. You think, and I think I was saying that at the beginning of the episode. You think. If you don't have any kind of previous knowledge on this, you think Satanism, you think like fucking human sacrifice, fucking robes, fucking people orgies, blood orgies, Slayer, fucking
Slayer and regular orgies might be a part of it.
But like, yeah, you think like dark, like rituals, like like bringing like demons and all this shit, but like it's not
Satanism
anything
is.
About that at all.
Neither one really.
And
a lot
of
the
their
Satan, and definitely not the Satanic
all of
Temple.
their like principles are solid. Like they're like for real. Like I'm gonna say it's not killing us at all.
There it is. Who's next?
I'll go.
Go ahead,
the Church of Satan. I can kind of see an argument there. They're a little bit more like, I don't know. In my mind, they're kind of goofy. Like,
talking about the LaVeyan Church of Satan.
The LaVeyan Church of Satan. They're kind of on the more goofy side, but their core beliefs are just like self-empowerment and like thinking for yourself And at that time, that was really a big thing. Like, you know, a lot of people were just set in their ways, and they kind of were on the cusp of, you know, this big social reformat of the way we thought as a society. You know, we had a lot of racism and a lot of just deep-seated, just like Christianity to like a fault as a country, and they kind of were like, not saying they were the reason why we, you know, got the Civil Rights Act passed or anything like that.
But that hurt.
But they
conformity.
were on that wave of just like, you know, not thinking the same way and trying to get out of this just stagnant just thought process. So I don't think they are killing us either. They're not killing us. It's definitely, I'm fucking pro Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple, man. They're really doing some legit shit, man. You know, I'm a firm, like, I have my beliefs. I wouldn't say necessarily I'm a Christian, but I have my faith and I have my own beliefs. But I definitely, even as that, I fully believe in the separation of church and state. America was founded on the freedom of religion and the right to pursue liberty, happiness, and free. I mean, whatever. But
liberty and the what was the shit that is our guiding principles of our entire country?
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
The
life,
whole,
liberty,
the
and the
kit
pursuit
and
of
caboodle.
happiness. And you can't
Live, laugh, and love.
Yeah, we should all be live, laugh, and loving. And they're really.
I guess essentially
they're really pushing that envelope, you know. And I'm very pro separation of church and state and not infringing on someone's beliefs or rights just because you believe a certain way. Everyone should have the same rights. Gays should be married. Women should have their own say in their sexual reproduction rights. And I think mega churches should be taxed like every other fucking business because they're a business. And that's just my... I think and Scatman World is the greatest song ever. And the good times are not killing us. They're pushing the envelope, man. They're what we need at this time in our country.
Cool.
Let me.
All right, go ahead.
I'm just gonna boil them. I'm just gonna roll them both into one because I feel like the Church of Satan was the Satanic Temple in the '60s. They were on some very free thinking, next level shit that like most normies couldn't get on board with, even though they were saying some shit that whatever you probably believe in, your religious fucking ideals, they were saying pretty much a lot of the same things, other than the like, you know, torture someone in your lair thing.
No,
like,
fuck that.
Who's annoys you.
If they come to my house, fuck them.
You know, fine, I guess, but I think like they were just being a little, you know, the whole thing with the name, the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple. They're just being provocative. It's like, because really you could change that to anything. It could be the Church of fucking Zebula or whatever the fuck, and
it ain't God.
You'd have so much more people on board, but that's like the whole point, is that they're like challenging ideals and the way we're kind of like indoctrinated with these beliefs and stuff, and saying like, you know, think about this shit. Think outside the box, basically.
Well, they were just like progressive for their time. Like,
yeah, so
real.
that's what I'm saying.
That's
like
all that. I mean, boils down to they were just trying to be progressive and be like, okay, you've been told your whole life like this religion is how you should live your life. This is how you should do everything. But and they're like pushing the envelope. They're like, how about think about it?
They're like,
way.
yeah. What if we're just animals and we just do these things and that's fucking fine, as long as we're not hurting nobody? Which is totally. I think that's fine. I think a lot of people, you're low-key a Satanist and you don't even know it.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of the whole thing. A lot of people, I mean, they talk about that all the time with both of them, is like, if you can have a kinship with these people without ever having, like, considered yourself a Satanist, you can be a Christian and be a Satanist, because, again, this isn't a religion. It's not. It's a non-theistic religion.
It's an
exactly.
ideal.
And this will fuck you up, probably, but you can be anything and be a Satanist. You could be, and Lucian Graves was talking about that. He's like, we've even got some people who are Muslim who are Satanists. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's not exactly what you think. And so yeah, that was kind of my take on the Church of Satan. The good times are not killing us on that, but like the Satanic Temple, it's really just a ramped up, modernized version of that with a more woke, activist type twist on it, dude. So it's like they're really like taking a stance on shit and really making things happen, and they're doing it in the name of Satan. And if you don't kind of get it, that's fine. But the good times are not killing us. They're not fucking. This isn't the satanic panic. You guys are stupid. This is something, you know, like, the good times aren't killing us, dude. This is something, I think this is actually something good and progressive. We'll see. We'll see where it all
This is
lands,
the most positive shit we've covered.
This is probably literally the most positive shit we've covered.
Yeah, no one got killed in this. No one really got hurt. No one got their feelings hurt even. Well, besides some people protesting abortion, but they're also they're out there to hurt people's feelings. So you know, I guess it's fine. But I would definitely I'll take them both. You know, separate, but definitely the Church of Satan. I think it's some edgelord shit for sure. But at the end of the day, the ideas are sound, and I think we're really feeling the effects of whatever wave that this started way back then. I think when you really think about it, even though like we're in a Christian culture, I think the current zeitgeist of our modern like youth culture, like millennial and kind of Generation Z culture, is basically really feeling all of what we're seeing here. Like all this stuff that we're seeing in these satanic statements, the 11 rules of Earth, like we're much more self-empowering. We're much more willing to sometimes accept selfishness if it's like, as long as we're being selfish, like in a way that does not hurt other people. I think that's something that a lot of people really still follow. I think it's really resonating with our society. Is the magic shit kind of corny? Yeah, but you know, maybe it's true. Maybe at the end of the day, because these motherfuckers got their numbers so high, maybe they did, you know, unleash some kind of hex under society that freed us from the bonds of religion. Because when you think about it, how many people do you know that actually even go to church? We all grew up with like our parents going to church thinking like, oh, I guess I gotta do that someday. But like most people just don't do that. Like, and I would feel corny as fuck doing it. When it boils down to it, most of our society are Satanists now. Like they've won, and even by the Levian Church of Satanism. That doesn't mean that there are a lot of people that are stupid, pretentious, or capable of self-deceit. But a lot of Satanists also probably suck balls too. Like honestly, a lot of these people are probably just very corny people. But anywhere you go, you're
straight up about it. At least they are being open about it. They're like, look, I'm a dickhead. I'm thinking about myself. I don't think about anyone else. I think that's a key tenet of Satanism, is just selfish.
Being honest. You know, don't have self-deceit. Know that you are just a dumb animal, and if you have some selfish, mean tendencies, hey, that's because you're a fucking animal, dude. You're not really made in the eyes of God. You know, and I guess at the end of the day, I'll say the good times are not killing us for the Church of Satan. And for the Satanic Temple, I would also say the same thing. I think it's so really, I didn't really have any hot takes on either of those, but I still want to separate them. But I think the Satanic Temple, I mean, the same thing. I mean, it's a lot of, there's a lot of corny stuff that goes on. Some of their public demonstrations are very cheesy. Some of them are definitely going to turn over the top, and probably going to turn more people away than they'll gain. But again, it's almost like poetic, like the idea of seeing these people who are like outside of a Planned Parenthood trying to criticize women and make them feel guilty just because like they don't want like to give a child a shitty life because they're not ready for a kid. The fact that those people are doing this and trying to make that woman's life so much more miserable, like seeing these weird ass Satanists on the other side of the road doing some weird ass demonstration, it really is a black mirror. It's like that's actually more like what you are on the inside. Like what you're trying to appear on the inside, they're actually more feeling that. They want to be good people. Again, it's probably a lot of corny Satanists, and in fact, they even have a lot of kind of internal drama. Like, there's this one woman who was high in the Satanic Satanic Temple who, like, basically she was giving a speech and she put a hex on Donald Trump, and Lucian Graves was like, "Look, I don't like Donald Trump either, but like, you can't just go hexing people and asking for their death. Like, you know, that's some."
Real quick though, your boy Anton LaVey would have been totally down with that.
Oh yeah, because that's the thing, is that's what makes them so separate. Lucian Graves like will say that like, the Satanic Temple is a evolved version of the Church of Satan, but he will be like, yeah, like they're on some corny shit.
Oh, shit! K-Town just put a hex on us.
Fuck, dude.
Or put a hex on you. I'm not sure. It depends on that if you believe in Satan.
Satan. Well, overall, I don't know. Hail Satan?
Yeah, hail Satan, and just real quick, I just want to leave just like a few words of advice. Pay your taxes, punch a Nazi, and fucking love your fellow man.
So that's it. The good times are not killing us around the board. Unanimous?
No, unanimously not killing us.
Pay your taxes, punch a Nazi. Walk old lady across the street. Go help out a homeless person, record it, and humiliate them.
Bathe in front of
name
an
of
abortion
Satan.
clinic in milk.
Yeah, that's just a little OD.
Erect a statue of a big tittied goat guy with a dick with a bunch of kids around him. That's
They took the tits
There's
off.
something
they
in
took
that-
the tits off. Okay,
dude.
Yo,
if they did not take the tits off, then I would
them
probably.
that.
If
Give
they
them
didn't,
that.
honestly, if they did not take the tits off, I would be looking at that and I'd be like, that's killing us.
Y'all doing a lot.
That's
y'all
yeah, we don't-
y'all
yeah.
doing too much. That might
Just
have
a
been.
fat dick and tits with some two kids just
Oh,
chilling.
God, dude.
I would have been like, nah.
Yeah, I'm good on that. Yeah, that then I would have been like, oh, bro, Lucian, what are you doing, bro? Like,
All right, y'all.
Yo, we didn't even talk about his eye.
Oh,
shit.
yeah, damn. Hey, look at this dude.
you look at this dude. Look at Lucian Graves. He's got a bruised eye. He's got a stupid
a
eye.
wild Satanist eye. All right, we're pushing. This is long. Man. We gotta cut
my
this
bad.
shit.
I just had to throw the eye in there.
No, it's true. It's true. I can't believe we didn't mention it. We look at the good times are killing us. We're just giving you the brushstrokes and our own philosophy of what's going on. Thank you for even listening to us at all. But like,
Thank you guys so much for listening, and we look forward to doing some more Halloween episodes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. Make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever your shit is. We got a couple Facebook Live sessions coming at you. If you follow the Facebook page at the right time, you can catch us and interact with us, talk to us. The other
let's
day,
get that 5-star rating on iTunes. Appreciate it, and a rating, and just like. Also, we're always looking for like new topics and shit that whoever is listening thinks whatever you want to hear, like, you know, whatever you want us to do an episode on.
yeah, let us know what the dealio is, guys, because at the end of the day, no matter what you do, humans are just an amoral animal with no real meaning. So, the good times are fucking killing us.
We're dead.
Can you end us out with that song?
Act with compassion and empathy. Tucker Carlson is a close-minded fucking idiot, but it kind of speaks to the way that Satan, the image of Satan, and that these kind of demonstrations really trigger people. You know what I mean?
All right, I got you. Give me a second.
You're about to play the Notice Me, Senpai.
Notice me.
Fuck, this shit's all fucked up.
Oh god,
I got you. Pause it. I got you.
it's collapsing.